Welcome to Leadership Development News, Profiles and Practices of Top Performers. I'm Dr. Roy Nadler. Dr. Kathy Greenberg, my esteemed co-host, now we're in our 20th season here, is with us. And we're going to talk today about the Soulfluence method, a new model for conscious leadership. Kathy and I are very focused on conscious leadership. How are you your best in the here and now? And between Kathy and I, we have worked with thousands of leaders to do just that. How do they be their best in the moment? And so we're always interested in tools, tips, things that today we're going to get from Grace Najean, who will tell us how she's taken a lot of the work from her work with Tony Robbins. We're all familiar with his work. So it'll be very interesting to see how she is taking that to the next step for herself. So, Kat, welcome to our show here.
Hey there. Yeah, I was just reviewing some of the World Economic Forum
Oh,
core skills for the future.
yes.
And everybody is writing online and in social media about this gap that we need to fill by 2030. And I just want to remind the audience as we go into this soulful
Yes.
conversation with our guest today, what's really important. And what's important, as the data is showing us, is not only having technical literacy, which I wrote about in my book with Marshall Goldsmith in 2003, calling it personal mastery and technological savvy, but creative thinking. And that's going to be a huge challenge given the AI literacy and the coming about of pro-social AI. Also, one of your favorites really is curiosity and lifelong learning. Being a
Hmm.
lifelong learner is really important. People are always shocked that we've been doing this show for 20 years and we still go to classes. It's like
Yes, we
we're
do.
still learning,
We're
right?
still learning for
We're
sure.
still learning. This little noggin still needs some goodness. But, that's because we actually love the idea of flexibility and agility in our capacity with analytic thinking and leadership and social influence. And
Yeah.
these are all skills that we need to keep building. So I'm really excited
Yes.
today to have somebody with us on the show who really understands the importance of these soulful skills that we really need to embrace in order to be successful going forward.
Well, I agree. And just this idea that emotional intelligence, these skills you're talking about all lie in emotional intelligence. So you like to say, Kat, there is no AI without EI. And so I think the Economic Forum shows that in 2030, we need that. One of the things, Kat, that we've seen, and I think with AI, it's only going to be more so, we now have outsourced our thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why some of these things at the forum saying creative thinking, curiosity,
Mhm.
analytic thinking. We can't just rely on AI to do everything. And it's too easy to do that. And
Mhm.
then to take it the way it is versus bringing in our own judgment, our own thinking. So what we do, and I'm sure Grace does also, is coaching. And what does coaching do? We insource your thinking. We expand your thinking. We ask those powerful questions so that you can process. And one of the things in the coaching school that we're both faculty of, CAT, College of Executive Coaching, is I say you got to love the pause. And what's that mean? When you ask someone a question, they go, oh, wow, oh, good question. That's where we want to be. We want them to think deeply. And the other thing we always talk about is how do you think slowly? Well, now with AI and everything else, we don't need it. We got them to think fast. We need to think slow to process and to really ground everything that's going on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Shall I introduce our
yeah,
guest? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, please.
super, super. Well, I'm really excited to have our guest, Grace Najean. And I have to say, she's coming to us today from Australia, and she's actually just left Denver. So I don't know how she's doing it. I applaud her, but let me just tell you a little bit about her before we bring her on. The question she likes to ask is, are you doing everything right, but still feel stuck or unfulfilled? Well, today's guest Grace Najean, a transformational leadership strategist, keynote speaker, and former master coach for Tony Robbins, is going to tell us a little bit more about how to deal with that. With over 5,000 hours of coaching, she's helped high achievers, including executives, entrepreneurs, and change makers, shift from burnout into aligned, intuitive leadership. Her method, the Soulfluence Awakening, blends mental clarity, energy mastery, and embodied presence to create success that feels authentic and fulfilling. Fluent in English, French, and Korean, Grace brings a rich multicultural perspective to her global work. She bridges high-performance strategy with soulful insights. Whether she's coaching C-suite leaders or delivering transformative keynotes, Gail empowers her audience to lead with clarity. Sorry, Grace. Grace empowers her audience to lead with clarity, purpose, and magnetic presence. She's also leading Soulfluence retreats in Lombok, Indonesia. I want to hear more about those. A 7-day immersive experience.
Wow.
I need to go. I was in Indonesia once and it was a great experience.
Hmm.
I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing. You can learn more about Grace at Grace Najean. That's GraceNajean.com. Welcome to the show, Grace, aka Gail. I'm sorry about that.
Oh my
Well,
goodness, thank you so much. That was amazing introduction. How you can do that better than that, right? So I'm so honored to be here with you and your audience. Thank you so much for having me. Um, so if I may, I may introduce myself. My past has been a little bit unconventional, I would say. So I started as a concert pianist.
Oh,
Yes, and then I worked in corporate strategy and marketing and sales, and later spent over 8 years, as you mentioned, as a master coach with Tony Robbins. So I coached, the leaders around the world. So today I help high achievers and executive move more, from stress-driven success into what I call soulful leadership. So leadership, that lasts longer. So I bridge corporate strategy with the soulful leadership because success without alignment is just survival in disguise, I would say.
beautiful.
so, tell us a little bit about some of the key influences. I'm sure if not long with Tony Robbins, he'd be one of them. But like, what are some of the key influences that have kind of brought you here? And also, I guess what Kat and I are both interested in, you've kind of integrated a lot of your past, and we're always interested to see how you've made that your own fingerprint. So, who's been some of the key people that's influenced you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a coach, like as all of us, right? We consistently grow and we develop ourselves, right? So yes, Tony was my first mentor, being, guiding me into this coaching industry, coaching world. But I realized quickly, coaching is not about other people. It was really about me, me growing, and then me finding my past, my journey. So I started a lot of like a spiritual, work. When I say spiritual, it's just a meditation, like a vipassana, a TM, and I also did a yoga, tai chi, qigong, name it. And I also did a part of an Indian spiritual group who was like a, and guiding me like how to say. I had like a heart awakening experience, which is a heart coherence. Now I understand with the neuroscience that means just simply your brain and heart are coherent now, right?
Hmm.
So I had that experience, all that. And since 5 years, I left Tony 2021, and I'm working a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I was in Denver with a training with the Dr. Joe Dispenza's work as well. So as I mentioned, it's quite unconventional. So I mix a lot of everything, like a left brain, right brain, and a soulful work. And then, you know what? I found out there's not only one thing. which helps you. It's really about integration. It's
Right.
not about your knowledge. It's not about your spirituality. It's not about being stronger with your body. I think it's really, really about integration. You can become the highest yourself. What I call soul means highest to yourself when you are integrated and then truly aligned with yourself.
Kat, let me just ask a quick follow-up question. So, if you had to say what's one thing you got from Tony Robbins, one main thing, one thing you got, we're familiar with Joe Dispenza. What's one thing you got from Joe Dispenza?
So Tony is really a personal power. Um, and most of us, I think, need to start from there. We are so weak mentally, physically. So I think we need to have that personal power to make that decision. I want to change something.
Okay.
Finally, Joe Dispenza is more about a consciousness, how you can align with your higher self, going up through meditation, lots of meditation. It's completely opposite, I would say the method or style. But I think every single person in personal development, I think we are aiming to the same direction, right? To be the best of ourselves and highest ourselves.
Yeah, I love Joe's work and use it often when I am delivering our emotional brilliance programs. And one of the things that I do, and I think Grace, you'll understand this, I give a bottle of water to the person in the front row. And there's usually anywhere from 25 to 50 people in a class. I like to keep them small. And
Mm,
these are mostly special operators, tactical operators, or public safety professionals. So they're not familiar with our world. And they're
mm,
certainly, while they're religiously spiritual, they are not familiar with the idea of what we might call quantum physics and that idea of alignment and coherence. So what I do is I give a bottle of water to the person in the front row and I ask them to pass it around. And at the end of that exercise, I ask them now to show and share what they've learned about the qualities of that water. And what's interesting is how they all recognize that the water that was a cold, icy bottle, now at the end of 25 or 50 people, has changed. It's changed its temperature and it's changed its qualities because it has absorbed the energy
Huh.
of those around them. And they can see that the water has changed in temperature and quality, and the bottle has changed in terms of, the perspiration and other elements. So it's fascinating to see them physically and emotionally connect to this idea that you're sharing today of being soulful. And it's a brilliant way for people to really see
Hmm.
what Joe is talking about and the qualities he shares.
ah, Thank you so much. Even without going into deep, like a quantum physics, complicated things, but still we understand we are energy being. Without energy, we will not exist. And everything existing, on Earth are based on energy. So especially water, because we have a more than 60-70% of water in our body. So definitely we have that communication or what we call frequency or waves, energy exchanges between water and then our thoughts, our emotions, and our body. So definitely water can reflect our thoughts and emotions. Very strong tool. Yes.
So one of the things, Grace, and we're excited to hear, in the intro, we said that if you're doing everything right, but you feel stuck and unfulfilled, what's going on beneath the surface? And we talked about the value of coaching and we're on autopilot all the time. And so our questions and our coaching gets people to go, what's beneath the surface? So what do you find is beneath the surface?
Yeah, after spending 8 years with Tony, and then of course after 5,000 hours of coaching myself, what I found is that high achievers don't struggle because they lack ambition or intelligence, and I consider myself a high achiever as well, right? So they struggle because they are exhausted internally, and they're achieving, but they are doing from pressure. So on the outside, everything looks successful and powerful, but on the inside, clarity narrows, decision fatigue increases, and patience shorten, right? Temperament. So I call this achievement fatigue. There's a price about that success and achievement, yeah. So it's when success is still happening, but it's powered by stress instead of alignment. So you cannot scale sustainability from that survival mode.
That is really powerful. Let's talk a little bit more about that. This fatigue that you're speaking to. Tell us a little bit more about how you've identified that and how you get someone else to distinguish between their ability to achieve something out of stress versus their ability to achieve something out of, as you were saying earlier before, maybe their own personal power or their capacity. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So most leaders think they need a better strategy. um, but at the senior levels, really, the top levels, the issue isn't the strategy, it's their state, right? Where they're operating from. So, your nervous system determines your leadership quality, not the strategy. So, if you are stressed, rushed, reactive, you make different decisions than when you are calm or clear, as you mentioned, the alignment. And the scary part is high performers are very good at functioning in stress. They almost love it. They're almost addicted to it. By the way, stress hormones are addictive, right? So you are addicted not to success, but the hormone, the stress hormone created by the success, right? Um, so the the functioning the from the under stress is not powerful. It's just the sustaining, right? So your state creates your strategy, not your strategy, I would say.
So powerful. And we want to learn so much more from you, Grace. We're
Okay.
going to take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk about maybe some of the strategies that you've been able to identify once you get people out of that, I guess, burnout phase, that stress addiction phase, so that they can actually manage their state in the moment. Don't go away. You're listening to Leadership Development News.
Welcome back to Leadership Development News, Profiles and Practice of Top Performers. We're talking with a top performer who helps top performers, Grace Najean, and you can have more information for her at www.grace, Grace, Najean, Najean.com. So, Grace, before the break, we were talking about kind of your state and what informs your leadership is not your strategy, is your state. I know that's really informed by a lot of the Tony Robbins work. We're familiar with that. Um, and so Kathy and I talk a lot about self-management in the emotional intelligence world. What do you do to be your best? What's your strategies? And so what are two or three kind of key strategies to, one, to change someone's state so that they can be their best leader?
Yeah, sure. So, most leaders, as you know, try solve burnout without without pausing. With the most of them try to solve the problem with the productivity tools. Yeah. But burnout is not a time problem. I think it's a more energy problem, right? For
Mm,
me, anyway. So when your body is dysregulated, your thinking shrinks. So in the Soulfluence method, we start with the body. So because it's your biological, state is in survival mode, no mindset can work. So you can uh, lightly reference neuroscience without going too deep, but when we are stressed, we react from fear, in fact, stress. So we are calm, we think clearly and make a better decision. So for me, the leadership isn't just mental. It is three things: your body, mind, and a soul. Soul means awareness or consciousness. Yeah. So when those three things are aligned, leadership becomes effortless. So that's what I call the soulfluence, the soul which can make influence. Two words in one, the soulfluence. Yeah. Um, this is the paradox of most leaders because slowing down feels more unproductive. They are almost scared to pause and
mm,
have a rest. But
Mhm.
when you pause, your thinking sharpen, your decisions improve, and your communication strengths as well. So slowing down is not doing less. It's removing internal noise
mm.
and really listen to your voice, right? So when your energy lays, effort reduces as well.
As you're speaking, Grace, I'm thinking about the many times that I have gone to listen to coach speakers at big events, whether it's through Zoom, or whether in person, for example, the International Coach Federation or some of these very large coach programs. And I think we're missing the mark on a lot of the techniques that are
Mm,
necessary for the capacities that you are speaking to at that soulful level. And people, as you say, they will buy products and,
Mm.
kind of how-to methods that are checklists and activities that actually take away from our capacity to listen to our inner voice and have that personal mastery that's essential for us to think smarter and make decisions that are in alignment with our goals and vision, both for ourselves, our teams, and for the organizations that we serve. Can you talk a little bit about how you deal with some of these especially skeptical and logic-driven executives?
Um, yes. Just to come back, to our the conversation at the beginning, AI. I think, for me, a whole this over decades and decades, we try to become the perfect AI ourselves, right? Now, finally, we found the replacement. And the issue is now we are thinking like AI almost, right? But we are not robotic. We are not artificial. We are not. We have a heart. We have a body. Um, so I think the gap comes from there. Try to being so much perfect industrial AI, and we don't know how to get out from there, right? Now people are scared about AI because they feel like, oh, then what should I do myself? Then, right? Um, what do you do? Go out and then, connect with the nature and then think about yourself, take care of your body and reflect and then do meditations. All those things you haven't done because you didn't have time. Now AI offer us that time, that we lost for so long time that I think we can get it back. So, come back to your question, sorry. um, so for me, the soul is a kind of a, what I call spirituality or consciousness, whatever. But I see spirituality and neuroscience as two sides of same truth. Science has been always a truth for the spirituality, soul. So spirituality give us the meaning. Neuroscience explain the mechanism, the biologic or science. So when your brain and heart are in coherence, your decisions becomes clearer and then your influence expands naturally. Um, so spirituality and science are not opposite. It's together. They are creating coherence. And finally, we can become a human being, not an AI.
That's a nice little refocus there I like. So for the Soulfluence, what would you say are some of the core principles? And this is going back to what we said earlier. It sounds like you've integrated a lot. You've got a lot of experience, especially on the spiritual side, meditation, you mentioned yoga. What would you say are the core principles of the soul influence?
Yes. So for me, leadership is not only just mental. So as I mentioned, the three things together, yeah, body, mind, and your awareness. So body is your energy and the nervous system. Without body, we can't do any actions anyway, yeah. And your mind is your thinking and your decision pattern because all the thoughts comes from your brain. And the deeper awareness or awareness, consciousness are just being aware about the things, right? So that's your values and your intuition. So when those three are together, aligned, leadership becomes really effortless, believe it or not. It's not passive, but really clean and easy and in flow. All the synchronicity start to come on your way because you are synchronized, you are aligned, right? Um, so that's what I usually work. So I work at the same time with the body because your body is a memory machine as well. It has all the memory DNAs in it as well. So your thoughts has a memory, but your feeling, your body has a memory too. So it goes like together, right? It's feeding each other. So you can't work on your mind. You need to work on your body too. When I say body, it's not a fitness, building muscles. It's not about that. It's really your energy centers.
Welly and I have had the privilege to be among a small population of individuals who are certified in a DNA of peak performance assessment called Meet Yourself. And we know that there are 54 behaviors that we can identify genetically that when we compare it to a behavioral assessment, we can look at whether somebody is in alignment with what their genetics are sharing with us, that potential, and what their behaviors are demonstrating to celebrate and leverage that potential. And so we're able to show and give people a concrete perspective of these are your 54 behaviors. These are the ways that you're demonstrating them in your talents and skills. So we kind of eliminate this mystery around where the memory might be or where the capacity might be. How do you get someone who doesn't really understand the power of that alignment?
Hmm.
How do you, what tool or technique can you offer so that our audience understands how you go about creating that breakthrough for them so that they can move forward with you?
Absolutely. By the way, you don't need to understand. So, for instance, that when you use your fridge, you don't need to understand how the electricity works, right? You just do it. I think that's the most important in taking actions rather than understand. I would rather prefer my clients do the actions, exercises rather than understand, spending time too much understanding. Um, so few just a little things. So for people who are really zero experience, nothing, studying. I know some of you has already, some meditation or routines or rituals and all that. But someone who hasn't done anything like that, seriously, it starts with your breath work. Because if you don't eat, you can survive. Some people survive like a Gandhi 30 days, right? Without eating. But without water, you will survive only a few days, a week, maybe even that. Without oxygen, you can barely survive more than a few minutes. Like word record is like a 30 minutes or something like that, right? I'm not sure, but anyway, so that's how much the oxygen is important in your body, and that's a fundamental thing, but we forget because it's granted. We don't see it and then we don't measure it. So I started with our research, the simple breathing. There are two different ways you can do it. So it's a simply just a 5 or 6 times breath in, inhale, and exhale for 5, 6 times. So let's go to five, let's say, to start with. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that easy? Yes. After 2 minutes, your body will be completely synchronized. And it's synthetic, a parasympathetic, state of being. I know a young man in France who did this, breathing work 6 and 6 for 15 minutes every day. After 6 months, he changed his life completely because he was completely in coherence mode and make a decision different way, right? So there's a science, a lots of sciences, on this breathing, 6 and 6 coherence breathing. So 2 minutes gonna be really the minimum you need to do to start have that alignment. But if you can extend it up to 5 minutes, that's even better, right? So that's a 2 to 5 minutes, right? 6 and 6. After that, you don't need to do meditation. You don't need to do listen to music. You don't need to do, sit down, legs crossed. You just sit down and count down 10 to 1 or 20 to 1 or 50 to 1. So the tip is when you count down, you close your eyes, but you need to visualize number. And you need to say out loud. You don't need to say loud, but softly loud. It means you visualize 10, number 10 in front of you and say 10. Pause. 9. You visualize 9 and pause. You visualize 8 and pause. Up to down to 1. It means at least that 10 seconds, your brain is disconnected with your thoughts because you are visualizing and you are saying at the same time. There's no way you would have a thought saying that. I have a
Hmm.
clients because I used to give them 50 to 1 because they're high achievers, right? Some people call me, Grace, I can't do this. Each time when 37, my mind goes away. And because they're high achievers. So I chunk down to 20 to 1, but still not. So I do 10 to 1. So from that time, now I give them, hey, 10 to 1. And if you feel comfortable, increase 20 to 1 and 30 to 1 and up to 60 to 1. That's a 1 1 minute. You can really be yourself and disconnect it. So that's counting down, right? So that's 1 minute. So count, 3 to 5 minutes of breathing and 1 minute. That's it. Now the third one gonna be from that stage. Anyway, you have that closed eyes, and then you visualize your day, important outcomes, important meetings, or important things you want to see as an outcome. Not just imagining this, but really
Mhm.
feeling the success or feeling that, the, how can I say, the powerful feeling of when I achieve this, I will feel like that way. So you visualize because your brain doesn't know what is happening now and in the future. So you are just rehearsing, you are repeating the success before even it happens. Yeah. So just visualize your events and outcomes. And from that space, when you did that, that's 2 minutes again. So that's 7 minutes altogether, isn't it? Now you have a 3 minutes left in 10 minutes. Just from that space, you can put your hands on your heart, or you can just do it. You just repeat the gratitude. It means I'm grateful for, simply, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my work. I'm grateful for my dessert last night. That's mine sometimes. Or even little things, big things. Because it's not just a being nice person or nice feeling. Because gratitude is the most powerful emotion you can create in your body. So it's all scientific based behind it, but it sounds and looks so simple. People don't believe it and they don't do it. But if you do this 10 minutes every day, just please give yourself 10 minutes of gift for yourself, not for your team, not for your family, not for your children, not for your dogs. 10 minutes, right? If you do this, you will see seriously the changes within like 10 days, 7 days, 10 days.
It's such a beautiful practice and such a simple practice, Grace. And I think your voice and your compelling words
Mhm.
that really make a difference in someone wanting to do the practice. I just want to underscore that if you're driving a car, please don't do this. Obviously, we want you to do
No, no,
this
no.
when you're in a quiet place. And I know Relly, who is a master, just a master meditator, I'm sure has plenty to share on how to make this real for each and every one of you in the moment. But I'd like to take a quick break. And while we're on break, I know you have to listen to whatever commercial is coming up, but take that 10 seconds and do
Mm.
a countdown and calm your heart and your brain to go into coherence. And we'll be right back. You're listening to Leadership Development News. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Leadership Development News, Profiles and Practice of Top Performers. We're talking with Grace Najean, who helps you and helps the people that she deals with be top performers. So just to highlight what we just talked about, 10 minutes, can you do your breathing exercise? Grace Najean walked us through that. And then the countdown, 10 to 1. I like that because you said to say it and visualize it. And that kind of eliminates some of the noise that's going on. And you can see yourself getting more relaxed. There's a similar thing in hypnosis, the same kind of countdown to where you get down to the bottom. And then visualize your day as you want it to be, so accomplishing what you want and walking through. That's the prompt for your brain already, and there's a lot of research about mental rehearsal versus physical rehearsal in sports. So visualize. And then I love the gratitude. And what do you have gratitude? And I imagine that also then just aligns your heart. So those are things that she just said you can do in 10 minutes. Any executives, the leaders that we work with, to say, here's something that can actually change your brain. The neuroscience, reinforces that you can change your brain with these practices. A lot of times they talk about the right-left shift from the right side of the brain, right temporal part of the brain that may be more activated to the left side, which is more content, peacefulness, and gratitude. So that's, in a sense, you're turning on that switch. And the more that you turn on that switch, it could stay on longer, or you could go to there when you're stressed. So let me just kind of prime, what you have as your 3D, 4D, 5D, and anything else you want to say about that process that we appreciate, because it's very tangible what people can do.
Yeah. So, I would explain leadership in three levels. So, not as a something mystical of quantum physics or like something like that, but as an operating system. It's kind of a metaphor. I think it's easier for people to understand. 3D is for me survival mode. This is where most high achievers operate without realizing it even. Everything feels urgent. Time feels scarce. Money feels tight, no matter how much you make it. Yeah. So you push it or you freeze. So you need to push more and do more, have more. So that's the 3D word. So decisions comes from fear of failing behind. So this is a stress-driven leadership. Now, going into 4D is awareness mode because once you're aware, you can do something about it. Yeah. So lots of people stay there between 3D and 4D because that's where you start to have a development, personal development. So you know what's going on about yourself and a sense of awareness. This is when leaders start noticing their patterns. So they pause more, they question urgency, they start to do meditation or yoga or something, or walking, or they start thinking about purpose and values. Pressure is still there because it's all about knowledge. Because you can't change your life with your knowledge, you have to do it, right? So 5D is coherent leadership. So this is where something shifts. So you're calm now, but still powerful, and clear but not rigid, and strategic without being really stressed. So you, how can say, respond instead of react. So the decision feels clean and easy and in flow. So 3D is reacts, 4D reflects, and a 5D respond.
Beautiful, beautiful. When you do this work, are there written materials that you share? Can our audience go to your website and find some of these materials? I just want to remind everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so my website is simply www.gracenajean, gracenajean.com. Yeah, so that's, I think, the easiest way.
So this is my analytical part of the mind. What does the D stand for in 3D, 4D, 5D?
Dimension.
dimension. Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
So we are in the 3D dimensions now, right now, right? So first dimension is the dot, where the everything starts. Second dimension is the line, two dots. 3D is three dimensions, or four dimensions, five dimensions. We can go up to 12, up to 16 dimensions. Some people say that. So
So
Well,
tell us a little bit about that retreat and what do you do at the retreat and how do you use these 3D, 4D, 5D, possibly all the way up to 12D
yeah,
processes?
yeah. So for now, 5 days so far enough. I think we start with three very, very low, right? The vibration of 3D. So yes, definitely. My goal is that 7D they can experience that 5D. And by the way, they do. It's amazing awakening happens, because we work 7 days. I take them out 7 days from their environment and their people, their work, everyday routine. So finally, they can be disconnected and then start to create a new habit and a new routine. So first goal is really creating the new routine every morning. So it's a retreat, but you need to work. So 6:30 you wake up and then we do that morning routine. So when you go out after the 7 days, you will have a clear routine to do in the morning, no matter what. Yeah. So that's the first goal. And the second is every day as I mentioned, we are energy being and we have many different energy centers, but I focus on the 7 different energy centers because there are a lot of science behind it and a lot of memory and a lot of limiting beliefs comes from a lot from there. So we work first center first day, second center on second day, so on. So 7 days we will work on 7 centers and really connect with your energy center. So after the 7 days, that there will be alignment of your centers and that routine. So finally your body, mind, and soul can be aligned, and you experience that synchronicity and that powerful alignment, and then suddenly I have clients, they lost like a 4 or 5 kilograms during the week, just doing nothing because they are so happy. Their body is just finally released, relaxed. Um, or they have like all the like a relief from something. They said there was something stuck in me and it's gone. Um, yeah, so I do this because I support my clients, most of them online, right? Through Zoom because they are all around the world. But I was thinking, through my experience, without a body transformation, you can't truly have that transformation for me anyway. So I bring them and we go through that 7 days. So I bring my partners from India. So I have a yoga teacher coming from India and I have a sound healer, sound healing person coming with singing bowls. Because as the water, same thing. What is the frequency? What is the most easiest frequency? It's a wave, the sound. So I think sound is the quickest way you can have that frequency matching, energy matching. I mean.
sounds really great. So they can get information on that on your website. You said it's in November coming up.
Yes, November in Lombok. Lombok is a beautiful island near
Yeah.
Bali.
Right.
So I don't know if you heard about it. It's 30 minutes from Bali.
Right.
It's
Right.
like a 10, 15 minutes, 10, 15 years ago, Bali. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I've been to Bali and I've seen where the ferry goes over to Lombok. How'd you pick Lombok as a place to do this? Of all the places.
It's always in my life nowadays, a lot of synchronicity and a lot of like randomness happens. And I went there with my daughter. Just for girls, time out. So we went there for 5 days, just randomly. And then it's only 46 rooms, all ocean view. And it's on the cliff. So you open the door and you hear the ocean singing. It hits the cliff. It's just such natural healing space.
We're all visualizing that now. That's beautiful. So one of the things, you said you're fluent in English, French, Korean, and you work with different global clienteles. How has that informed you? Because especially the things that we're talking about here are universal. We're using the word spiritual. You're using the word synchronicity, and Carl Jung popularized that, being in the right place at the right time, having dreams that predict what's going to happen, or dreams that's going on at the same moment, but that synchronicity, kind of being in that right place at the right time. Um, how does that go over, with different cultures? And then do you have to kind of change some of that? And it's the language of that. That, I think Kat and I, we're in that world, so we appreciate it, but not not everybody's in that world.
Mm, yeah. So definitely, I don't advocate the spiritual word, the work, even though I'm spiritual person, because my clients, they don't know that language.
Yeah.
So I think I need to talk, the language they understand. First of all, by respect. And secondly, somehow, as you mentioned, I think I'm soulful person. So therefore, I attracted the soulful people. So they don't know what it is, but they're so attracted, and then they come, and they trust me. Just um, s- but as you know, we are all soulful beings. We all have a soul somehow. We think it's illusion of thinking that we are not spiritual, we are not soulful. So somehow, if you show, I love working these leaders and executives or business owners. Why? Because even if they are very much disconnected, but they are very intelligent. So if you show them some of evidence, some of a result or outcome, oh, they make actions. They're high achievers. Just bang, 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 bang. They do it. So I love it. I love it.
So, Relly, do you want to just do a quick lightning round?
Yeah. So we have this lightning round and just complete this sentence. So, and just whatever pops up in your mind. Leadership is, what would you say? Leadership is, if you complete that sentence.
Oh, to me, is
Yes.
it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Um, Leadership is really being the best of yourself so you can lead others to be best of themselves.
Nice. Next one, at work, because we talk about executives, leaders, at work, it's all about,
It's all about collaboration.
hmm, nice. And during your workday, what do you do to recharge? What's your best way of recharging?
Everyday life, I walk twice a day. My dogs, I have two dogs. But no phone, nothing, just them and me.
And
Oh,
so like, how does that help you? I mean, I know that, is it the exercise? Are you thinking about certain things? Are you
I,
just in
I just go for
gratitude?
walk. I go to I'm very blessed in Perth. We have an ocean, beautiful ocean. So sometimes I go at the beach and walk with them. I just walk and then I'll connect with the nature and with them.
Yeah.
I feel so I think blessed when I have my two puppies with me, and that's all I do. I walk them 2 or 3 times a day, and it's just there with them, these little beings that
Right.
have absolutely an aligned spirit with their own needs,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Uh-huh.
they just want to see the birds and
Yeah.
smell and sniff and look around, and it takes you out of your head,
Yeah.
it really does. So that was a
Good.
beautiful example. Thank you, Grace.
My
We,
pleasure.
So we're at the end of the show. We've certainly enjoyed this soulful gathering with you, Grace. Again, you can reach her at www.gracenajean.com. That's GraceNajean. And thank you all for tuning in to tune up your performance with Leadership Development News. And we're here every week. Don't forget to download all your free resources. Relly, I'll give you the last word.
yeah. So you get some free resources at drrellynadler.com. And so glad to be a part of this, Kat, with you for 20 years, and Grace, just being able to share some of your wisdom. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.